The air in the bus was stale and cool, filled with dust motes that drifted like lazy ghosts in the late afternoon sun. Outside, the forest stood still, spruce and birch casting long, slow shadows across the clearing. The hunters didn't know what they were stepping into. The door creaked under their fingers and the air shifted, heavy. Inside, near the rear wall, lay a young man curled against a metal shelf, limbs drawn inward. His clothes were threadbare and dirt crusted under his fingernails. A thin, empty pack sat near his feet, straps twisted across the floor. One of the men knelt forward, almost reverently, to check for a pulse. Eyes wide. No response. The discovery happened on August 18th, 1992. That afternoon, 2 moose hunters had hiked through woods along the forgotten wilderness trail in eastern Alaska, following old signs and rusted markers. They had heard stories of a derelict bus deep in the woods. They didn't expect a body. Flashlights revealed a scavenged pantry, empty cans with faded labels, the hinges of a cupboard peeled away from their rusted mounts. A single notebook lay open on a shelf, pages smudged with damp. A final mark of presence, long since gone. That was where the story of Chris McCandless ended, though for him, it was meant as a beginning. 2 years earlier, in May 1990, he walked across the stage at his college graduation, cap in hand and ready for any future. He left home soon after, heading west in a beat-up station wagon. The road became something more, a moving wall of mountains, deserts, and endless horizon. He changed his name to Alexander Supertramp, shedding more than his student ID, shedding expectation. He donated his savings to a charity, telling no one his plan. He abandoned his car outside a small town in South Dakota in April 1992, after it failed him far from any help. From there, he hitchhiked through Wyoming and Idaho, carrying a minimal pack, a small stove, a gun, a few books. He avoided contact, no phone calls, no postcards. He carried a leather journal with notes, "Happiness is only real when shared." That line would echo after his death, plastered across headlines and memoirs. He reached Alaska in May 1992, stepping off a bus onto a dirt road beyond any real road. A local man gave him a ride all the way to an abandoned school bus, old, yellow paint flaking, tires sunken almost to the axle. Inside was silent, but for the distant whisper of wind through broken windows. He painted "Magic Bus" in fading red letters over the number on its side. That space became his refuge. He stripped away the seats, built a makeshift bed of pine boughs, and cleaned out canned goods left behind by unknown travelers. For a time, he hunted rabbits and squirrels, fished streams that ran clear with snowmelt, picked berries by hand. In the first weeks, he wrote in his journal, "2 weeks of walking and the world is still too loud. Here it whispers." He found a kind of quiet here, bitter cold nights, snow falling slow. He learned to gut a fish and dry fillets over coals. His world narrowed to the bus, the forest, the food he could catch or pick. But as summer turned toward August, the forest changed. Berries dried out, rabbits grew scarce. He couldn't reach the nearest river for fish, water levels dropped. He tried to shoot a moose once, but missed. The gun kicked against his shoulder. The forest swallowed the shot. Rain came heavy, drenching the inside of the bus, washing mud tracks under the floorboards. He wrote less and less. The pages of his journal piled up blank, or with a few smudged lines. He scavenged the remaining canned beans and rice, until one day even that was gone. His body grew weak. He found seeds, wild edibles in a damp clearing beyond the bus. He tried to boil them, chewed them raw, hoping for something, anything that would ease the hunger gnawing at his insides. His hands shook when he tried to light the stove. He waited hours for flame, sniffing stale air. Nothing came. Food gone, water high with sediment from rain, nights long and cold. That small space grew like a coffin. He lay on pine boughs under a ragged quilt, listening to branches scrape against windows, hearing his own breath ragged in the darkness. He thought about leaving, but the river trail led through lowlands infested with mosquitoes, through swamps where shorelines drifted like moving blankets of water and mud. He lacked strength. Each step had become impossible. In July, the journal closed. He left a note on the underside of the bunk shelf. SOS, I need food. I can't make it out alone. Somewhere in those last lines, his handwriting trembled. He pressed a final message on paper, folded it carefully under 2 rocks by the rear door. He laid back on the pine bed and closed his eyes. Over the next weeks, the forest reclaimed its silence. Streams rustled without voice. Snow began to dust the edges of the bus floor. A small owl landed near a broken window, stared in, and flew away. The deer and moose roamed closer now and then, unknowing of the broken shell someone left behind. When the hunters found the bus, they called rangers. Rangers came, took photographs, sealed off the site. Inside, the stench hit them. Old sweat, decaying flesh, damp pine and rot. The remains were taken away, cremated where the family instructed. The rest of the bus, a rusted hulk, remained. Locals barred the trail soon after, but pockets of pilgrims still made their way through brush and mud, leaving tributes: a worn-out backpack, a pair of boots, a journal page preserved in plastic. Years later, there was debate over what killed him exactly: starvation, poisoning from wild plants, mold in stored grains. Biologists tested samples of the plants he harvested, analyzing toxin levels and nutritive value. Some said he might have avoided death if he had built a smoother exit route or rationed differently. But those arguments didn't comfort anyone. His parents received a death certificate, ashes scattered near a family plot in their hometown. They left his final note pinned inside a wooden box in their living room, framed beneath a key ring from Alaska. It sat there, once in realism, then becoming myth. Reporters visited, writers speculated, pilgrims came and went, but none confronted what had happened to him, a young man who meant to escape the world, who reached its remote edge and slipped through. In the end, the bus rusted quietly, half swallowed by moss and saplings. The forest grew around it, indifferent. Few remembered his real name, fewer recalled his face. What lingered was a tragedy locked in wood and metal, a man's final refuge turned tomb. Thank you for listening to Horrifying Survival Stories. Subscribe for more stories of those who face the impossible.